Привіт усі! Сьогодні у нас дуже цікаве інтерв'ю з європейським гештальт-терапевтом, професором психології, викладачем психології, психопатології в Інституті Брно Чеської Республіки, акредитованим тренером в EAGT і супервізором в EAGT Яном Рубалом. I want to speak a little bit about you as Gestalt therapist, as supervisor, to ask some questions. How did you decided to be the Gestalt therapist? What was your way to the Gestalt therapy?
Well, actually, I didn't decide for it. It somehow happened. I was quite young, and I think I was 24. Yeah, and I just knew that I was studying medicine then, and I knew that I want to do psychiatry. And then I decided to have a psychotherapy training, but I was not, I didn't oriented in the field. So I just met my friend, and she told me that she's in training, which seems very nice. So I just called there, and I didn't know anything about Gestalt therapy. It found me, I would say, yeah. But then somehow I found it matches. Well, in fact, I think it's more like complementing to my personality. I think I'm more like, my nature is more like psychoanalytical, maybe. So I needed this Gestalt approach to complement, what I have. I needed to learn what I missed. So this is how it happened. Yeah. I have some trainings in other approaches, passive avoidant psychomotor system or emotion focus therapy, but then the main influence was that some years ago, I think 15 years ago, we started a Institute of Psychotherapy Integration with my colleagues from different approaches. So there are not only Gestalt therapists, but there are also like family therapists, existential therapists, psychoanalysts, and we are all trainers of one institute, and we struggled to find a common language, but we managed. And the whole training is based on common factors. So what are the main principles that work? And they are the same in all approaches. We just use different language. So I feel as Gestalt therapist, and at the same time I feel as being like very open to integration.
Super.
Yeah.
I like the integration of different approaches, because we really speak the one language, different languages, but about the same things. And why did you decide to be a supervisor? Not all the Gestalt therapists wanted to be supervisor and then trainers.
Well, I started to be a trainer also very young. I think I was not even 30. Yeah. But it was for historical reasons, because there was no tradition in our country because of the communist regime. Gestalt therapy was not present here, so we just started from zero. So I graduated my training, and I started to prepare myself for being a trainer. And then I became a trainer because there were no older Gestalt therapists behind me. So and then when I started to be a trainer, it was quite natural that there were new students, they needed a supervisor, so I became a supervisor. But it was not, I think things always happened faster to me than I grew to them. So I always feel like not competent enough. And I do something feeling not competent, and then gradually by doing, I get the competence at least a bit.
I think it's not too easy to be the trainer in this way when you feel all the time not competent.
But at the same time, maybe it's inevitable. Maybe every starting trainer feels not competent, and also the students, they feel not competent. So we have some common ground, let's say. So we are not alone in it. They don't feel alone. I mean, for me, it was a motivation to study, to learn more, and also not to stay like on a local level here in Czechia, but I really wanted to be connected with other Gestalt therapist trainers, teachers abroad. So that was a big part of my professional development to be really involved in European and world Gestalt movements. Yeah.
Super, because it is not everybody who wants to be involved in international society and to develop itself in different countries. So it's very nice.
Yeah. And I found very good friends there and a lot of fun and inspiration. I'm grateful for that. Yeah.
And during your period of being Gestalt therapist, what education did you get except the first and second stage? Did you have some specialization or something like this?
In Gestalt therapy?
Yeah.
Well, it was parallel with my medical studies. And I finished my medical studies, and shortly after that I finished my training also, basic training. And then I started to work as a psychiatrist, and I had to pass exams as a psychiatrist. So it took, I don't know, 10 years, or maybe less, 8 years. So yeah, and then after the basic training in Gestalt therapy, in a parallel way, I made a postgraduate training in Gestalt therapy, and then the other training that I told you about in the Western system, and and then I had also supervision training for supervisors in integrative approach. It was led by people from Great Britain originally. Yeah. And then some courses abroad, like the psychopathology course in Italy. So I was just like trying to see what fits.
Why psychiatry and psychopathology? Why did you decide to work in this way?
Well, psychiatry, it was just I don't know. It was not my choice so much.
Interesting choice. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. I just found myself studying medicine without really knowing why, and it didn't make much sense to me. It was like too depersonalized, I would say, dehumanized. So then I stopped for 1 year medicine after the second year, and I went to study to Israel, to Jerusalem, for 1 year. Something completely different, like history, art, some archaeology, some philosophy, some like very many different things. And then I came back. I also started to study anthropology. So I was like attracted to more humanistic education. So psychiatry was somehow in between, between like medical studies and humanistic studies. So I chose psychiatry, but then it was still too biological for me. So I moved to psychotherapy.
Yeah.
And to Gestalt therapy as a humanistic approach. But then when I was there, somehow I had the experience with psychopathology in the hospital, in a psychiatric hospital, with patients there. So somehow I had to practice psychotherapy with clients that were really seriously disturbed. And I found out that the Gestalt approach that I've learned in my basic training, it didn't work with them. So I had to adjust it somehow to make it, so that it's helpful for them, so that not I'm applying something that I've learned to them, but that they start from their needs. And for some years, I was trying to develop some adjustments of Gestalt therapy with these seriously disturbed people. And in that time, I was so lucky to meet Gianni Franceschetti, who he just
Really lucky.
yeah, and he just published. It was in Athens on the EAGT conference. I don't know what year it was, 2006 maybe. I'm not quite sure. But he just published his book about panic attacks, which was, I think, his first book, and he actually did the same attempt to bridge psychiatric approach, psychopathology, with a humanistic existential Gestalt therapy. So we started to talk about the book, and I told him about my struggle with these two, and he said, "Well, I do the same." And then somehow it was much easier to do it together, not to be alone. And then his very good colleague, Michaela Cicella, she joined. Well, she was with him in as a professional couple, so I joined them, or she joined us. Anyway, we were three then, and we edited the big book about Gestalt therapy and clinical practice, and then it was just kind of a flow, yeah.
Interesting way.
Yeah. There were not many two conscious decisions, that I took. Mainly it was I found myself in the flow of something. Just
like life
followed.
bring you to someplace when you need to be.
Yeah, maybe.
Probably.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Okay. And can you tell a few words about your, personal... And can you tell a few words about your, personal supervisor philosophy?
Yeah.
How do you see the supervision?
This is my favorite. Oh, sorry, I interrupted you.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
This is my favorite part of my work now, to not only to work as a supervisor, I love it, but also to teach supervisors, or the people, the advanced colleagues who are already somehow well established as therapists, and they feel this urge to make another professional step, and then support them in this natural pool. That's just a pleasure, to support them to become supervisors. So I'm teaching in different trainings for supervisors now. We do international training, and we do one training here in Czechia, one in Poland, and some others I take some small parts in. So, and that's my favorite part. And what I like about it is that I think somehow we are contributing to the change of maybe culture of how to approach the therapists with respect, with recognition of their own personal style. Because I don't want to do supervision the way that I teach the therapist to do it properly, but I want to support the therapists to find their own way of doing Gestalt therapy that fits their personality and that fits the context where they practice. And that's not so usual in some parts of the world, especially I think in the eastern part of Europe. The tradition is not like that. So it's I think I'm supporting this change of culture, how to support others, how we can support therapists to find their own way. And I think it has a big consequences, because then the therapists, they support also the clients to find their own way. So it's like a domino effect.
Like parallel process.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what is more the most exciting part about it is to discover what is the potential of each therapist, but it's in kind of a paradoxical way, that the potential is not only in the qualities that the therapist has, but also in the wounds and in the traumatic experiences or difficulties that they had in their story, so that they can become their competencies. And I'm holding this cup now, and also this is I made them myself.
By yourself?
Yes.
Wow.
And it's I have a teacher of ceramics, and she teach for many years, and she teaches me the Japanese approach of wabi-sabi aesthetics, which I love, because it basically welcomes mistakes. So when you create something, of course it's not perfect, you make some mistakes, but then you just observe it. Okay, how can I use this mistake? What kind of a beauty is it? Does it reveal that something that comes naturally without my intention? And then the mistake is not a mistake anymore, but it becomes kind of a core of a creative process around which the beauty can somehow reveal itself. And this principle, wabi-sabi aesthetics, I think, is a part of my work when teaching supervisors.
So if I hear you correctly, it's like a way. It's not a mistake. It's like a way to become the cup or to become.
And it's also kind of a humility in it, that many things happen just on the way without my intention to teach that. But I just see, okay, this is happening with this person. Let's see the beauty of it, the richness of it. So this is what I like, this kind of a culture.
Very interesting, because I like also this culture. I like also to see the life like a way, not like the parts or mistakes or different situation, but it is all the way.
The mistakes appears when I have a fixed vision how the result should be. Then the mistakes appears because I'm never as perfect. But if the intention is just the direction, a way, as you say, then the mistakes are part of it. There are no mistakes, in fact. They're just, I can be curious about what happens.
So interesting that you choose ceramics like a hobby.
I love it, and it really informs me a lot about what I do in psychotherapy, but it's also a great way for me to relax. To work with hands, I love that. And
to be in the moment.
To be here and now, to be in the dialogue with the clay, because it in a way speaks in its own way to me. It speaks to my hands, and so the dialogue happens on the fingertips, and I love that. And
like phenomenology in
exactly.
therapy.
Exactly. So there are many parallels. Clay is a great teacher for me.
And can you tell a few words about your science work, about your work in the Institute? Why did you choose this part of life? Because not everybody want to be a scientist and to develop this part.
I don't know. It just happened somehow. I was also teaching at the university for 20 years, and I was part of a research team, and then I was also part of quite some research activity in Gestalt-terapia. So this research part was part of my career, but how did it happen? It was part of my way, and I just did it for some time. But the research itself I like it very much, especially the qualitative research that somehow I think it helps me a lot not to burn out or not to burn out again. I burned out once. It was very difficult, but then later I found out that the research, or maybe not doing a research project, but having a research mind is kind of a protection from burnout again, because I like the expression that research is a cultivated curiosity. So it really brings some liveliness into my work. Now, I'm not only working as a therapist, as a supervisor, but I also at the same time kind of curiously observe, what am I doing? What is happening here? Yeah, and I wonder about it. And that's the research mind, and it keeps me like enjoying what I do. Yeah. Sometimes it's too much.
Can I ask you what type of researches do you do now?
Actually, now I'm collecting data for researching supervision in Gestalt-terapia.
Super.
Yes, but I'm only in the phase of collecting, and yeah, so that's one part. And the other part is that I'm working with my colleagues on a kind of intensive case study, and we are again exploring it, collecting some data. There are some steps about it. That is my wish, to really present a very good, profound, comprehensive case study from Gestalt therapy. There are not many. I mean, there are many case studies, but to do it really properly, methodologically, so it can be published in a good journal, there are very few. So maybe I'll manage, maybe not.
Can I ask you about your period when you burn out? What's happened?
Yeah, what
if
happened?
It's okay. Yeah.
What happened? Yeah. You can ask. I talk about it when I teach.
Yeah, because it's really it's an experience for everybody who is now studying Gestalt therapy and wants to become the therapist.
I think that maybe this is kind of a necessary step, transformation step in the professional development. That probably yes, that after some kind of a enthusiastic period of being happy, finally I'm doing this great profession, then somehow I reach the limits of the profession, or on my own limitations, and then I need to transform my way of working. So probably it's a natural part of a professional development, but maybe it doesn't have to be as hard as it was for me, because no one told me about this in advance, and I was not ready for it. I was working in the psychiatric hospital, and I think the main reason was that I had like too high expectations for myself. I expected that I would help people, which is like it is natural to think that, but it's too much. I mean, especially in the psychiatric setting, people were not getting better there. They were basically getting worse, and I could just slow down this process in some cases. But it's okay. I mean, it doesn't matter. It was helpful to them, but it was frustrating for me, because I had some bigger expectations from myself. So that was I think the main part of my burnout, that I had to somehow reconsider what I expect from myself. The other part was happening on a somatic level, that I got really exhausted, so tired, without energy. I felt like being 100 years old man. Somehow the suffering of the people, it drained energy from me, and it got under my skin without my intention. And there was a moment when it was so frustrating, so much, that I remember that moment. I wrote about this in the book that was published actually in Ukrainian language. Yeah, so I'll just repeat myself. That I was in the mountains, And I was so tired, so exhausted. And then I just shouted there into the valley, fuck, I don't want to help anyone anymore. It was, and it needed to go out. And it was very true. And at the same time, I didn't want to leave the profession. I wanted to stay in the profession. So that was this very kind of a paradoxical, maybe a koan, how to do it, how to do psychotherapy without trying to help the others.
Mm-hmm. And what did you do?
Yeah, and it brought me to field theory,
Mm-hmm.
and there it fits greatly because it's not actually me who is helping the people. Mm-hmm. In a way, assisting, supporting the forces, the healing forces that are doing their job. Mm-hmm. It sounds kind of mystical here, but I mean, this is our very basic principle of Gestalt therapy, that the whole has a tendency to complete itself in a meaningful way. Mm-hmm. And this is the same power, I think. So I'm just assisting to that. And it's not me who is helping. I'm making it very simple now, but this, from this burnout, from this professional crisis, this like a new impulse mm-hmm. for me came to reconsider the very basics of my work. Yeah.
Thank you.
How does it sound to you?
It sounds good because I had the same period in my life, but not in psychotherapy. Before psychotherapy, I was a businesswoman. I had the travel agency, and I had also the period of burnout, and it was a huge transformation of mind, first of all. And the field process is very helped me to this. So when I come to Gestalt, firstly I came to psychoanalytic job, and then to Gestalt therapy. And I like that I found Gestalt field theory here and everything about this. So I understand you now.
I'm happy to meet a similar story, and there are many stories like that. People don't talk about that much. The therapists are feel sometimes ashamed for that it happened, like a failure, but it's probably a necessary failure.
I think it's a step for a transformation and to grow up for yourself personally. So
to grow up in a paradoxical way, to grow down maybe, or I don't know how to say that, but for me it was a very also personal, very meaningful way of including more spiritual dimension into my life, which was the main thing that helped me to get out of it. Mm-hmm. It was a very hard time, and I'm happy I didn't miss it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the last question.
Yes, please.
Can you tell a little bit about your hobbies? I heard about.
This is one.
This is one, but I think that it is more.
I really like to work with my hands. Mm-hmm. So I work with clay. I also work with wood. Mm-hmm. Maybe I can show you something. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know if you have this tradition in Ukraine that that there are wooden figures for Christmas,
no, we don't
showing how the little Jesus was born. I don't know if you don't have this tradition.
We don't have this tradition.
So we have it. So I'm carving little figures, and last year I've carved an elephant. This is the one from the last year. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want to see it?
Yeah. It's very. Next time.
So that's my hobby.
It's very beautiful.
To carve from wood. And
what wood?
Lime. Is it the right correct? Yeah, I think it's lime. It's quite soft.
Yeah, because when I touch it's soft.
Yeah. Oh. Hello. And then I also have bought a little piece of little wood here, down here, close to my house. So I work there with trees, and that's something I really love. I really love trees. So I love to spend a lot of time with them. There is some kind of a contact, some kind of a communication that makes me happy.
Actually, it's so sensitive now that I even feel my tears.
Yeah.
Super.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you that you invited us to your home. It was quite a very interesting invitation. I've never been at home of anybody from Gestalt therapies.
Right.
So it's very nice to see your lifestyle and your habits and how do you see the house. So thank you very much. It's a very interesting experience for me.
Thank you for the interview. Yeah, it was very nice to talk to you.
Thank you. Yeah.